How to know if you're having an effect on your insulin. Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name is Bruno Pinucci. I hope you're doing well. So there's quite a few ways to find out how you're affecting your insulin and to find out where your insulin's at. So let's start first off. The best way to figure out your insulin, one of the best ways, there's a couple different tests you can do with your doctor. One, they actually give you some sugar, and that might not be an option for some of you carnivores out there who don't want to risk going down the road to putting some sugar in your mouth. But the other way is a fasting insulin test. Now, it's tough to get your doctors to give you that, but just be persistent. If you're overweight and you haven't been able to lose weight, it means you're not burning your blood sugar very well. It means that your insulin is working overtime and you're slightly insulin resistant. Whether it's 20 pounds that you've been overweight for quite a while, or it's been 200 pounds that you're overweight or more, it means you're insulin resistant to a certain degree. Now, there's different degrees of insulin resistance. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a light switch that goes on and off. It's just as simple as this. Your body is working really hard to keep your blood sugar under control, and the insulin's kind of losing its battle. So tests through your doctor is one of the best ways to do it. Blood test is probably the easiest way to get that done. Now, the next test would be something like a Keto Mojo. A Keto Mojo is a little device. I have one, but it's packed away right now. I don't really care to use it. And it's a blood sugar monitor. So you can check your blood sugar with it. You take a little prick of blood from your finger, and then you put that in the machine, and it measures your blood sugar. And then there's another strip that you use, and it measures your ketones. Now, through those ketones, and you take a ratio between your ketones and your blood sugar, and when you put that together, it's going to tell you if you're in a level of ketosis. Now, this is probably one of the easiest and kind of expensive, depending on how you look at it, but it's one of the better ways to find out exactly what your blood sugar is doing. And between your activity level and your diet, figuring out how it's affecting your blood sugar and therefore your fasting insulin. So this gives you an indication if you're in ketosis with this ratio. This is the Dr. Boz ratio. And you want to ideally be in a pretty deep level of ketosis. So the better your fasting insulin, the better your ketosis is going to be. So basically it all revolves around burning through your blood sugar throughout the day. One of the easiest ways we know to do that as carnivores is just cutting out carbohydrates. For most people, that gets the insulin issue under control, and then your blood sugar gets under control, and then your body starts working more and more efficiently, especially with a little bit of activity in there. So we're already pretty much doing that as carnivores, and especially if you're doing my squat challenge, that's another way to manage your blood sugar, thereby managing your fasting insulin. But if you want to measure that, you can use a Keto Mojo, and there's other products out there like it, but a Keto Mojo is widely accepted as a very reliable little device, but those strips can start adding up. So I wouldn't recommend doing this multiple times a day. The best time to do it is just in the morning. Don't worry about it the rest of the day. You want to get your morning ratio really good, and the more strict you are with carnivore, and the more consistent you are figuring out your eating windows and keeping your activity up through the day. 10 squats every 45 minutes for 8.5 hours a day, including weekends, for the whole month. And next month, we're going to one-up it. We're going to move up to 11 squats. Now, some people out there have commented that they don't have the schedule that allows them to do 10 squats every 45 minutes. I recommend being flexible. We're talking about 120 squats in a day. The goal is to not do them at once. The goal is to balance it and spread it out throughout the day. So you can figure out how you can spread that out throughout the day. You can do your 10 every 45 minutes when you're not at work, and that could be half the day. So just be creative and figure out how to spread that out evenly as much as you can through the day to try and get the closest results to 10 squats every 45 minutes for the 8.5 hour window. Maybe you can only do it every hour, and maybe you only have to do that for half of your shift of the 8.5 hours. So figure that out. You can work with it. The important thing is that you do the challenge. Don't talk yourself out of it because you can't do it specifically like the challenge. Do it. And then figure out how your body's affected. And then let your body tell you the results. It won't happen in 1 week. Some people it might, because we're talking about people who probably have a really serious insulin issue like I do, where I've been strict carnivore for 3.5 years and I've hit a window where I'm not losing weight anymore. And it's clearly because, as I know, as lots of you know out there who've been watching my videos, my fasting insulin has been high. And I know that's been an issue for at least 2.5 years. It's probably been high this whole time, but I got it low enough that I lost 165 pounds, but I've sort of leveled off. I can't get it lower, so the rest of the weight isn't coming off. It probably used to be much higher than that. So we've talked about blood tests, we've talked about a Keto Mojo, we've talked about exercise, we've talked about diet. So these are ways you can manage it. Another thing you can do to tweak this is taking berberine. Berberine does what metformin does. Now, you don't want to do both at once. You want to get doctor supervision if you're going to try something crazy like that. But berberine is a natural product you can take out there. It's an ancient product from China or something like that, and it's in pill form. And I think there's some different types of berberine. I don't know which one you might want to look into at your local health food store, but you can take berberine, and that's going to lower your blood sugar, making your insulin not have to work so hard. And eventually it might lower your fasting insulin. So that's always a good thing. That helped me dramatically with my gout. So anything you can do to start burning off your blood sugar is a way to manage your insulin. Keep that in mind, because the more blood sugar you burn through, the more glycogen you burn through. That's stored in your muscles and also in your liver. So you start burning through that, and then your fasting insulin is going to really relax. It's going to really start going down because your blood sugar is chronically going to be managed throughout the day. So instead of doing one big workout through the day, which you're always still welcome to do, this is just adding activity throughout your day with a squat challenge. If you don't have access or the money to get a fasting blood glucose monitor, you can always get one of these ketone meters. And this is something that you breathe into. Now, they're not as reliable as a blood test, but what you can do is you breathe into that and it'll tell you if you're in ketosis, and it'll tell you the degree. It's not as accurate as checking your blood, but it's still going to give you an indication. Now, I can tell even without that sometimes when I'm in ketosis because I get that keto breath. And when I'm sitting there, I can taste it. I can taste that keto breath. So that's how I know if I'm ever in ketosis. Now, I've learned through the years that doesn't mean I'm in strong ketosis, but it does mean I'm in ketosis, and that's a good place to be. And the last thing to figure out if you're in ketosis is if your waistline's shrinking. You may not even lose any weight. You may even put on weight if you're doing any activity, but you will lose inches. So even if you don't have any of that other equipment and you don't have access to get any tests done through the doctor as commonly as you would like, keep in mind, you just have to put your faith in doing your exercises all throughout the day or whatever you need to do to add to your day to start burning through your blood sugar. And then when you start watching your inches go down, it may take a while because your body has healing to do. It's not always just like a light switch when you turn that insulin off. Sometimes it takes a long time, and it's like a dimmer switch, and it takes a while to go down if you have chronically high fasting insulin. So a quick update about me and my surgery. I had staples put in my chest to close the scar that opened after my open heart surgery. So they put staples in here, and they also sewed the inside of that. I'll talk in depth more in a future video about what I went through with that. I'm definitely tender from it, and not in an emotional way. It's pretty tender, but it's very manageable though, I have to say overall. I just won't be able to work for a while with this, but it was working better than that VAC system I was using. But back to the topic of the video, these are some different ways you can measure your blood sugar or insulin. If your blood sugar is doing well, typically your fasting insulin is doing well. But if you're at a weight plateau, it's a good indication that you might want to get that checked. And then we also talked about some ways to manage your fasting insulin. Managing your blood sugar will indirectly manage your fasting insulin. So I want you to keep that in mind. Affecting one will affect the other. You just have to keep this frame of mind with it. You're in it for the long game. Don't do it for a week or a month and go, oh, I barely got any results. It's not worth it. You have to be in it for the long game. I want you to try this challenge ideally for at least 3 months. At least 3 months. I just want you to do this challenge. Even if you don't join and become a member, I just want you to do this challenge. That's the most important part. Just 10 squats every 45 minutes for an 8.5 hour window. You might have to tweak it a little bit here and there depending on your work schedule. Anyway, thanks a lot. Take care. Hope you're keeping well. Cheers.